Hey everybody, Michael Nielsen here. I'm just starting to do these more frequent updates for you on the state of the documentary that we've been working on that you guys have all been asking us about. It's been in production now for quite some time, and I just think it's important that we get a little bit more transparent with you guys about what kind of stage we're actually in, and to give you kind of an idea of what the process is like along the way, so we can hopefully answer your questions about it and also give you an impression of why this takes so long to complete. So for these updates, just real quick, if you're looking for kind of the most up-to-date updates on what's going on with the film, like these videos, for example, you're going to want to follow me actually on my fan page on Facebook. So it's an actual page called Michael Nielsen. We're not going to be posting these on the Beyond Human Nature Facebook page as much, but we will cross-post at least initially for a while, for those of you who don't switch over right away. But know that eventually all this stuff is going to be conglomerated on one page, my page, that you can follow, and then and that's where the most up to date, up to the minute stuff is going to be. In addition to that, my Twitter page at Michael Nielsen, I'll also be posting a lot of these things and more kind of like minute by minute updates. So those are the places to really get the latest stuff, if you're wondering. Otherwise, we will cross post from time to time on the film's Facebook page, Beyond Human Nature. So where are we with the film right now? The film currently exists in a structure of 5 one-hour-ish episodes. That's the outline. Currently, what is watchable is that we have the first 2 episodes in rough assembly form. What that means is that of all the interviews that we've conducted since May of 2014 when we started production, I've taken all those interviews with my co-writer Joe, and we've cut that together into something where you see the story being told. We're cutting between the interviews and letting the interview subjects tell the story for the first 2 episodes. That means we don't have any, real additional archival material playing over it. We don't have any permanent music. We don't have any reenactments shot yet. We don't have any of that stuff that we're planning on doing, and that we're eventually going to need to raise money for to complete, most likely. But you can at least watch it right now internally and follow the story, and we can work on the story. So in documentary, this process is much like the writing process in fiction film. That's another reason why documentaries seem to take so long, is because with a fiction film, you kind of don't think about the writing process as being part of the production, because it's kind of not. The writer could go off and spend 5 years writing a screenplay until it's absolutely right, and then they go into production and they film it in 4 weeks. With a documentary, you start filming. That's like your research stage. That's where you're capturing everything. You start getting all the archival material together, and the editing process is the writing process. So that period of time that the writer in a fiction film is spending up front before cameras roll is the time that we spend after cameras roll editing the thing. So that's one little reason why documentaries seem to take so long. But so it currently exists. 2 episodes are in rough assembly form, and that kind of looks like this, to give you guys an example.
Randy came to me and he said, I hear you and Mike and some other guys are going to be going on a hunting trip. We went to Tennessee wild boar hunting. And I said, yeah. And he said, all right, you want to prove to me that you're the good guy? And I said, I thought I have. I'm telling you everything I know and everything. And he says, well, why don't you do me a favor? We want you to talk to Mike and do whatever it takes. If you got to pry him with liquor, do whatever it takes to get it out of Mike to find out what happened. And till this day, I beat myself up over it, but I did just that. After we were all done hunting, naturally we started having a few beers, and I was skipping like every other one, and I went to Pop for a while, and I kept bringing Mike another one and bringing Mike another one. Pretty soon I had them doing shots, and I would have a shot, but when they weren't looking, I'd throw it over my shoulder, I'd throw it over in a corner. I wouldn't drink anything. I mean, I kept my head, let's put it that way. Later on that night, when everybody was kind of filtering off, going to bed, Mike was slobbering drunk. He was loaded. He broke down and cried and says, I don't know what to do. I can't. My honesty has never been questioned like this before. He says, Steve, what do I do? I mean, I can't. They're not believing anything I'm telling them. I feel bad about it, but I don't know how to change it. But I did what I did. He was my friend, but I was trying to find out what happened. And he never wavered one bit about knowing anything about anything.
So you kind of get the gist. That's the state it's currently in. My goal is to have the final 3 of the 5 episodes cut into that same style of assembly form by the beginning of June. So I've got 2 months, a little under 2 months. So it's a tight timetable. I may not make it exactly, but you shoot for the moon, you miss, you hit the stars, right? It at least inspires action to have a goal like that. So, and when it's all kind of on me at this stage, you can very easily fall into kind of author writing a book stage where you just overanalyze everything, and it's like how's that book coming? That sort of thing. So goals are important. Beginning of June, that's when I'm hoping to get to the end of that stage. And that by no means is when it's ready to watch for the public. it's just literally another stage in the writing process for us. We also have a rough title sequence done at this point. We are absolutely going to be, and this would go at the beginning of every episode, and we absolutely are going to be changing this once the finished film is done. You'll see a different version of this, but we wanted to get something that was kind of in the vein we were going for. So I can show you a little clip of that right now. Music that you heard is scratch music. It's temp music. It is actually the original score to the amazing video game The Last of Us. And just the instrumentation is instructive right now for the mood we're going for. And when I'm talking to our composer, Alex Valdez, I'm using some of the instrumentation from the score to that game to get him in the right headspace to do what he needs to do. So anyway, you'll hear more about that, obviously, as we go forward as well. Another huge thing about these updates is I can actually answer direct questions for you guys that you guys ask. So we got a question from Jeff Valesky, or Vieski, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing it, on the Beyond Human Nature Facebook page. Any updates on release date, format, etc.? Looking forward to seeing this. Thank you. I'm looking very much forward to seeing it myself. Release date. So nothing that I could carve in stone for you right now. These things are going to be about an hour each. It's all independently funded. It's pretty much just on us, and we all have day jobs, obviously. So it's my goal, my hope would be that we are darn close to see. Part of this is even debating about how we want to roll this out. Does this go on something like an SVOD platform like Netflix, or do we try and go direct to consumer, which is something that I will admit I'm very romantic about, and I actually love the idea of going directly to you guys, with either, a paywall on Vimeo or something where you could pay like $15 and get access to the whole series or something, doing that via a crowdfunding platform or something like that. I like that idea a lot. The only downside with that is, or I suppose the upside with Netflix or something like that, is that they have a built-in audience. So any of you who are just Netflix subscribers, which are probably a lot of you, with Netflix, you'd be able to just go on Netflix and watch it right now and not have to pay anything extra beyond your monthly fee. So there's a big audience there, but the question kind of becomes, is that audience worth putting a really big middleman between me and you guys? It's still something that's open to debate. I would like to think, though, that you guys will be seeing something by next year of sometime, 2018 sometime. That's where I'm hoping. Especially if we go direct to consumer. If we don't do the middleman and we go directly to you guys, I don't think it's unreasonable at all to expect a 2018 release date. Finishing up, movie or book recommendation. I want to do one of these every update as well, just to kind of give you guys some stuff to watch in the meantime. That's kind of rattling around in my brain as reference points as I'm editing the film. There's going to be some of the really obvious things on this, but I'll start with something to be a little less obvious for you. Jean-Xavier de Lestrade's documentary, The Staircase, is potentially my favorite true crime documentary series I've ever seen. You can find this on iTunes. You can find this potentially on HBO now, because it was originally an HBO series, but you for sure can find it on iTunes. And it is a 10-part series, not unlike Making a Murderer, except for this film, Jean-Xavier had direct access to the man who was on trial, and you go home with him throughout the trial. You're there with him shortly after the crime occurred, and you're hearing from his family along the way, and it's very personal. And if you liked Making a Murderer, it'd be like if Making a Murderer had cameras go home with Stephen Avery, every evening before the trial and in prepping for the trial and all that stuff. So that's kind of what the Staircase is, and I think The Staircase has a bit more ambiguity than Making a Murderer did as well, which makes me a bigger fan of it. I think very often it's very easy for those of us making these kinds of investigative documentaries to make it seem way simpler in retrospect than it actually was at the time, for the investigators, for the defendants, for everybody. I think The Staircase does a wonderful job of bringing out just how difficult and murky and muddy the whole process is in the moment, and bringing you into that. So, The Staircase, check it out. All right, that's it for this very first update. There'll be more to come, I promise. Until then, be sure to watch this space.